Welcome, Generation Drankins, episode 14. Wow, Steve, 14 episodes. We're going strong. Thank you, everyone who is listening and watching us. Please watch and listen through this whole episode. We're going to have some good conversations around consoles, console releases, the flukes, and, just random stuff. Like Steve got himself the vid vaccine. So congrats, Steve. Good to be over 40, eh? Lucky bastard.
Yep, I got it tonight, and it was a zoo. It was not well planned out. I think they started to figure it out partway through, but they're a little bit behind, and then it just started backing up people. And that's the most people have been around, period.
Oh, yeah.
Since COVID, because it was just people lined up. But once they got going, they were doing about 10 people at a time or so, because they have 10 different rooms, and then you wait 15 minutes, you ship them out, the next 10 go in.
Yeah.
So it started to move smoother. So this is the first time they were offering it at my doctor's office. And anyway, we're getting off on a tangent here. Let's talk about video games and Transformers, beer, and the usual stuff two dads talk about when we just want to chill and hang out.
That's it, man. That's it. So, Steve, we were reminiscing about some stuff, right? And I told you the other week that I picked up some Dreamcast magazines, and
pretty amazing.
Oh man, it is. These things are monstrous, like, 120 pages each, but 70 pages of them are ads. And some of them are ads for games that never even came out for the Dreamcast, which is pretty cool because I would go and search them up and whatnot. And talking about the Dreamcast, brings me back to the old days of console releases and launches and having enough money. What consoles and launches do you remember, or can you kind of go back on in memory of that were just flukes?
Flukes.
Well, flukes. So
or bad launches.
Bad launches.
Okay, because flukes, I think of the N-Gage or the Gizmondo or something like, what the hell is that? The Ouya, that kind of stuff. But I don't really consider those mainstream consoles. But I lived one of the worst consoles experiences ever, meaning I was working in a video game store when the Saturn launched. And I literally came to work and, I've been hyping this thing up and reading magazines. Part of my job was to read magazines. So I was super excited. And then I just show up to work one day and my boss is like, "Hey, what's that?" I'm like, "What's what?" And he look and literally there's Daytona playing on a TV and the Saturn's sitting right there. I'm like, "What the hell? When did this come out?" So I was actually excited.
Right.
But in retrospect, it really, really shot them in the foot.
Yeah.
A lot of things. And you probably don't remember this, but Saturn, actually, Sega, was being outsold so much by Sony when Sony came out, they couldn't keep up with game boxes. And so Sega actually gave Sony game cartridges to put their games in. So that's why a lot of Wipeout and things like that came in the same box as Saturn came in some cases.
Oh, the long boxes, the long jewel cases. Huh, that's cool. I thought it was for a reason, but I had no idea what. No, and that's it.
Sega wasn't selling their stuff, and Sony was, and I guess they bought a bunch of them from them. I don't know the super details on it, but I do remember that being like, "What the hell, Sega? Don't do this. They're the enemy." I was very much a Sega fanboy during that launch. I did get a PS1 day one, and I remember how excited I was reading. I think it was a Game Pro magazine. And they described the controller, and they're like, "It's like a Super Nintendo controller, but it's on steroids." And I was like,
"On which one? The PlayStation controller?"
The PS1. But but I'm going off topic again with just my mind's all over the place tonight. But the Saturn, man, I was like, "What did they do?" Let's start with that. What did you think of Saturn launch?
So
real one, but
so the Saturn launch. I mean, I didn't live through it. I mean, I lived through it, but I was like fucking knee high to a grasshopper, right? So the big thing for me was just looking at the history of it, and it's crazy that they did that, right? And they did it they released it even before E3. I remember E3, I had read a couple articles. Actually, one was in the Dreamcast one, and talking about the history of Sega and stuff like that, and that was it. That Sony came out, it was sold for $399 or $499. Saturn was pretty expensive at the time it was released, right? And then PlayStation came in and just undercut them, just like they've done to
Which was
Xbox.
actually BS. This is something I had to explain to a lot when I was selling the systems, because Sony's cheaper, but you still got to buy a memory card and you got to buy a game. Saturn, right out of the box, you got memory there, and you got
yeah. And then Sony, or then Sega went and dropped the price of the Saturn as soon as kind of PlayStation announced that. So it's gonna kick in the old testes.
They lost a ton of money there.
Yeah, to Sega on that for losing money, and plus for the people who bought right off the bat, right? And I remember just like with the 3DS, that was it for me. Like I remember that when 3DS got released, it was like $299. It was like $300 for the 3DS or $250, something along those lines. And then they dropped it like by $100 or like $75, and it was like, what the hell, man? They did it like 6 months later. And that was like, but then they released like the Club Nintendo, be able to download Game Boy Advance games and all that stuff, which was cool. Anywho, yeah, there's that one. So Saturn, the 3DS to an extent. I mean, with the 3DS launched really well, but there was, Pilot Wings and Ocarina of Time, which was an amazing game, eventually came out. But there's a few others that were just, right? It was kind of a weak release.
So I for the 3DS, I kind of go there with you. I wasn't so excited for it. So I already had a DS and DS Lite at the time, and but then I got the one from my wife, which was the Zelda one, and I got really excited for that one. Just the 3DS XL when that came out, and then the gold Triforce. Yeah. It's great. So
no, the other one I was thinking too. I mean, you could go, like Sega CD and the 32X, like not that they didn't, but you can't.
GameCube wasn't a great launch.
No.
I love the system, and I think it came into maturity, but when it first launched, it was, it was already behind the other systems at the time. I mean, the Xbox and Sony, PlayStation 2, and the games weren't really there. I remember like getting Super Monkey Ball and being like, what the hell is this? Even though I loved the game once I played it, but just looking at it, I'm like, there's got to be better games, man. Because I could play like all these things like Ghost Recon and Halo and SOCOM and Time Splitters and all this, and I'm like, there's nothing like that on. This is like a kid's machine. Is how I used to think of it, anyhow.
The lunchbox.
Yeah, but I love the design of it. I love that you could attach the Game Boy player to it and whatnot, and that you can attach your Game Boy Advance actually as a controller as well. Yeah,
that was really cool. Those extra things, like even with the Game Boy Advance, you could attach Pokemon and play Pokemon Coliseum, I believe it was, or Forces of. I can't remember the name of it now. So that was pretty cool. Or even like Wind Waker. And you could have people on the map use the Game Boy Advance on the map and stuff like that. And yeah, that's true. The other big one for me was the Xbox.
Xbox One or Xbox One?
No, Xbox.
That was a horrible launch, man. What were they thinking, making everything have to be online always?
Yeah, and then
packing or something.
Yeah, packing in the Kinect with it, which again, I know you like the Kinect, but 98% of the other people didn't like the Kinect.
See, I like the Kinect only for being able to control things with my voice. Don't use it for any of the games or anything. And I like the pass-through port as well. Since I have older TVs, I don't have a 4K TV yet. A lot of the smart things aren't there. So having the Xbox just be able to control everything and having a cable device go through it. Now it's not so much necessary because the newer systems, I can just use Alexa or Google to control them, and stuff like that. But I did really like it. And when I swapped out the Xbox One for my Xbox One S, my family hated me for it. They didn't know how to control anything anymore, and they had to unplug HDMI cables because there wasn't enough slots anymore. And
that's true. I mean, I didn't mind. The launch was fine for the Xbox One. It was I thought it was pretty. It was a fail, but it wasn't that big of a fail. I just think the PS4 outsold them. And again, it's the support, right? PlayStation had the support from the third party Japanese developers and stuff like that, and which helps, right? So with Japanese developers, you've got fans of Japanese games in North America, where that's not so much the case in Japan, right? You've got your North American North American made games don't sell like hotcakes in Japan. I mean, there are one or two, but
yeah, you're right. It's very they're very particular over there with what they play, and they don't like American games in general. And so, yeah, it was definitely a challenge for Xbox, for example, to go up against them. So I'm going to throw this one out there because I think it was one of the worst launches, simply because they didn't have any games, and they should have been one of the best systems out there at the time. And I'm going to say the Atari Jaguar.
The Atari Jaguar. Yeah, I guess. I mean,
they had that slogan, "Do the math," and their whole thing, we're the first 64-bit system, even though it's not really true. They're more like two 32-bit processors. And, excuse me, but I just thought that could have been so much better.
Well, it's like the 32X, man. It was just two 16-bit processors. It was a 16-bit processor, the 32X, and the 16-bit processor. I didn't know that.
Genesis. I gotta dig in my history on the 32X. That's interesting. But
the fun things you read from a 22-year-old Dreamcast magazine.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. It would bring back so many memories, I bet, if I started reading that stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No. I mean, you're right. The Atari Jaguar did not launch well, but I mean, it was there.
You say the same thing about the 3DO as well.
Yeah.
3DO had a really decent library. They're just too damn expensive.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. That's the big thing. It was expensive, right? Even the games themselves were pretty expensive on the 3DO back in the day too, because it was more
I know,
or less.
I collected for it pretty much when it was still around. We were renting the games out at the store I worked at when I had a 3DO, which I loved because I could just take the games home. We were allowed to sign them out.
Yeah.
And we just had to bring them back the next day in case it got rented.
Right.
Which worked well if you're working like that day, and then the next day you just grab a few games and bring them back the next day.
Yeah, well, that's all right. The 3DO was more or less an arcade cabinet internals into a console, more or less. Not exactly the same, but
I think it was ahead of time. When you say that, I think more of the Neo Geo.
Right, that's true.
Because that was like legit hardware, just that board just put in a box.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were the first 32-bit kind of machine out there, and like games like Need for Speed, Wing Commander 3, Star Control 2. There's such good games on it. Then you had really garbage games too, and that was part of the problem because they just licensed out whoever paid, and you could put whatever you want on it.
Yeah.
So there's not much quality control there.
No, and then that was before the indie games that we have of today that sell for $20 or $10 versus $90 for a full price game, right? That was the big thing too. Yeah, man. I mean that's it. Think about it. I mean, what about console launches that you remember that were just amazing off the top of your head?
360 was pretty exciting for me.
Yeah.
You can get into the red rings of death and all that, but this was before that really started to hit hard. But yeah, I was managing an EB Games then, so
I remember. Yeah. I was there.
Previous to that, I went to a vendor show, and Xbox basically just tried to buy us. Like, we went to their event, and like they had an Xbox bag with an Xbox jacket on every chair for us, and then inside it was a bunch of Xbox games, and just I think I had like a bandana, a toque, like all this stuff, pens, lanyards, and so that helped with the hype with me to get excited for the Xbox. And I love that you could change the faceplates at the time, because I had a Halo. Oh yeah, they gave us a Halo faceplate in all our bags as well.
Nice.
And so that was exciting. It was kind of my first launch in a video game store where I was running the show, and it was just a lot of fun. Games I think Prey was the first game I really got into, and I actually really liked it. I was kind of hesitant to play it because I really didn't know anything about it, and I just played it on a whim, and I'm like, yeah, it's a pretty cool mechanic and flipping upside down with the gravity. But what about you? What's one that you really stick with?
Okay, so other than the Dreamcast,
Game Boy or something.
No. So other than the Dreamcast, okay, but I wasn't like working anywhere or stood in line. But I do remember the Dreamcast. I remember the hype prior to the Dreamcast being released.
$99.99.
Me saving up my money, my own money, as 1999. I do the math. I was probably 10.
Do the math.
11.
Back to Atari.
I was 11. And so buying it with my money to do it, all that stuff. So that was a big impactful for me. But yeah, I remember the 360 and the PS3 launch because We were working
PS3, I remember
together.
big time. Yeah, I
We were
remember
working
just being
together at EB.
flabbergasted by the price.
Even the Wii, like I remember the Wii. I remember
Oh yeah, yeah.
me and Mike and Justin and the guys just standing in line. Even though I knew I was going to get one, but we stood in line, got it, brought it back to Mike's place, and just jammed it for the day. And I think it was right, if I recall correctly, the Wii got released the Saturday before or the Sunday of the Grey Cup of
I think
that
it
year.
was a Sunday. Like Nintendo
Uh,
always had weird launch days of Sundays and Wednesdays, if I
yeah,
remember right.
Sunday and Fridays.
Sunday or Friday.
Yeah.
But I remember thinking, like when that came out, they were so hard to get.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I remember forbidden to buy them ourselves, even though we'd find ways to get them. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. You don't want the staff to know about this. And I get it that like you want to sell them to the numbers, but we don't get discount. So like,
Yeah. Why
what's
does
the
it matter?
difference?
Yeah. No, that was it. I mean, um, that was probably like those were my most impactful. I mean, that Xbox One and 360 and PS4,
Mm.
they were okay. Like I remember standing in line for them, and again had them pre-ordered, so it didn't really matter. But just have that the hangout with people and having the conversations with people. I never really got anyone's gamer tags or like that, but I just remember standing in line and talking to people about just
Shooting
stuff.
the shit about it
Yeah.
and like getting excited for it. Yeah, I just pulled up a worst consoles of all time, just looking at links, and it's like half the stuff we already just talked about. It goes like Sega Saturn's the top one, and then PlayStation 2, Xbox One. I'm trying to remember what was so bad about PlayStation 2. Now that I pulled that up,
I don't think there was enough, if I recall correctly. I remember watching something about that, and I think there wasn't enough PS2s because there was such a high demand because it was a DVD player, right? So the thing is it being a DVD player, people are bought. It was the cheapest. There's the cheapest DVD player to buy,
and it was good.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's why. Yeah, man. So, what have you been playing recently? What have you been up to? Reading, anything like that?
Outriders lately.
Yeah.
I've been loving it. I've got a lot of hours in it. Still, I haven't played it to death yet, but it's kind of makes me think. If you played it, so you know what it's like. It kind of makes me think of Destiny meets, I don't know, Mass Effect. No, not quite. It's not even that.
So so like to me, it's like Mass Effect, Gears.
That's what I was trying to, because of the cover system and
how it is, Gears, Destiny, Mass Effect mixed together. Like that's kind of
I'm loving the story.
Yeah, that's the one thing. I mean, you've played way more than I have. Haven't gotten much chance to play it, but it's good. And I mean, I like that you can hop in, hop out with friends and stuff like that.
I like that you can play single player.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. Right?
One of my biggest complaints about Destiny. I don't like, kind of like something Tommy Tallarico would say. He doesn't like playing online. He'd rather play, with friends in like couch co-op kind of things. And I'm very much that way. I don't like playing online with people unless I really know them.
Yeah.
And so I hated being forced to play with people that I didn't know a lot in Destiny, because we always had to have 3. And I just didn't care, like if I don't know you and we're not, I can make friends, sure, but it's going to be a different person all the time. And I did love planning ahead and playing with the boys or whoever. But man, I hate playing online and being forced to play online. I love playing online when it's planned. But God, man, give us back LAN play and give us back way more couch co-op.
Yeah. That's the big thing I'm hoping for Halo, for Infinite. I know they've said it's going to be couch co-op, but I wonder to what extent and how
capacity. Is it just going to be like raids and capture the flags?
Or two
are you Survivor?
Or is it going to be 2 Master Chiefs playing, or is it going to be the squad? Like, are you going to be playing as blue team? Like, I don't know, right? And nothing.
I've been trying to stay away from some of that because I'm such a Halo fan. I don't want to have all these preconceptions of what it is going to be, and then getting it and being like, oh, they don't have this. It doesn't do it. Like, I just want to start and be like, play it from the get go and see.
But as you know how I am, I'm reading the. I'm reading the Halo book. Oh my goodness, what is it called? I'm gonna have to Google it. But one of the most recent Halo books that was released right now, and it's a prequel to it.
Couldn't say I haven't been keeping up lately.
Return to Reach, no, I don't think that's what it's called. I'll have to look what it's called. Anywho, Shadows of Reach. It's pretty cool. So it kind of gives you the whole, like, it ties in Halo Wars 2. It ties in what happens at the end of Halo 5. It ties in other books. Like, it's just good. I'm enjoying it. So, but that's it. Like, that's what I'm hoping for in the Halo Infinite, is that there's couch co-op. If there isn't couch co-op, not the end of the world. Obviously going to play it by myself. But if there's couch co-op, then I'll play it with Kathy.
Yeah, right? I'm so hoping there is, because I played through with my daughter, for example, reliving all the Halos, and we get up to Halo 5, and we couldn't play co-op together. And then the other thing is, how many times I've had people over here, pre-COVID, of course, and we each have to have an Xbox with Xbox Live. And I'm like, my God, man, we're all sitting in here, like 4 different versions, 4 copies of the game, 4 Xboxes, 4 TVs, and we can't just line it up. We still have to go through.
Do Xbox Live and go all that.
I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah, man. No, I hear. Did you hear the big news? Did you see the big news that yesterday? It was yesterday that Sony announced that they're not closing down their PlayStation stores on the.
No, I missed that, because that's something I wanted to talk about. I've been doing a lot of reading, and like how you can just lose digital copies of games because it can't check in to the servers.
Yeah.
I mean, not digital, sorry, physical.
Yeah.
You pull out your CMOS battery or it dies, you're done. Because it has to check in.
A good check-in. Yeah.
But if they're not doing that anymore, then that's good news. What they should do is firmware update them so you don't need to check in to play a physical copy.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know how hard that would be to do. I don't think it's too much for asking. I'm like, Microsoft has really got the ball nailed on this with backwards compatibility and being able to play old games. And I would really like to see Sony and Nintendo follow suit. I don't think Nintendo has the same kind of problems, but they really irked me a lot back in the Wii days when they didn't have accounts and games you bought were tied to a console.
Yeah, that was all. That's
because my console went kaput and I just lost all my games.
Yeah, that's Nintendo being Nintendo on that front.
Yeah, let's buy all the same games again for the 4th generation.
Yeah, man. Exactly. 4th generation is like the 10th generation of buying.
I just meant when I started. Yeah, I guess starting though at the NES.
Yeah.
And then
NES, Super NES, NES, Super NES. Okay, not including Game Boy. NES, Super NES, N64,
64,
GameCube, Wii U, and Switch. So we're 7th generation.
7. So think about that. Super Mario Brothers. I bought it probably almost every console version going through. Christmas time, playing the games, and I'm like, oh, I'd love to just get into some super. I don't feel like digging out the old console. I'm just going to buy it for 5 or 10 or whatever it was, time. And then it's such a waste of money, but good for them. They're making money on it. But
that's it, man.
Man, once we have it, just let us play it like Xbox does.
Yeah, you say that, but you know what? Funny enough, I went in on my Series X yesterday, I think it was, or over the weekend, and was checking out the games that were available to download. I was like, you know what? I'm going to look at Sega games. I want to see what Sega games are up on there that I can play on my Series X.
Yeah.
And a lot of the games that were backwards compatible on the 360, or there were 360 games, aren't backwards compatible on the Series X. Now, I should check my Xbox One X and see if those games are backwards compatible. I'm pretty sure some of them were, but it was like Sonic. It was like, I'm just trying to remember. Like Crazy Taxi was playable, but like Sonic something, one of the Sonic games wasn't. No, even Sonic 1 and Sonic 2, Sonic and Knuckles, they weren't playable on my Series X.
Interesting. So I haven't played, honestly, as much as I talk about it, I haven't actually played any old school games on this Series X. I haven't tried yet, anyway.
Actually, just before our call, I was playing some Fable. So,
holy cow, that was a great game.
I was playing this Fable Anniversary because I was like, I'm just gonna. I don't know if I want to. I was going to jump into Outriders because load screens and how long it takes to log in and hit the servers and all that stuff. So
it does take a while to log in. I did notice that.
So I wasn't jump into that, but
in Fable, did you ever get the? I don't remember if it was Fable 2 or 1. I think it was 2, where I got the downloadable bonus for pre-ordering, and it was like the Master Chief's outfit in wood. Oh, that's awesome, man. I'm running around playing Fable, and I got like a strap with the Chiefs, like a Halloween
Oh
mask, and like things all made of wood put on me, like to look like the chief. And the story, you read it, and it's like a long time ago, the savior came, blah blah blah, and he wore this armor or something like this. But it basically talked about the Halo universe and a little quick blip and why this armor was made.
No, see, for me, it was only I never played that one. I never had that in Fable. I do kind of. I think that was Fable 2 because I think it was 360 like that came out for. Mm-hmm. And then no, but I remember the Mass Effect skin that you could get for oh man, I'm gonna Dragon Age
Oh, okay,
2.
yeah.
I think it was where you could you if you pre-ordered Mass Effect or something like that, you'd be able to get you got the skin for Dragon Age. So that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool.
Kind of tie-ins and crossovers or Easter eggs in games. I love that.
Yeah.
Especially when you don't expect it. Oh, what game was that? We're going off topic, but again, but do you remember a PS1 game? I just can't think of it, but it would read your memory card, and it basically, I see you were playing this game, blah 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 blah. And,
I think it was Metal Gear Solid did that. So I remember Metal Gear Solid,
and it would be another Capcom. No, who made
Konami game or something like that. Yeah.
Game. So and they would see that and like, oh, you see you, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And that was creepy, man, because I didn't have any clue how that happened.
So, like talking about that, Eternal Darkness for the GameCube did that, and it would be like it would flicker on and off, and like your TV would go black, and you're like, "What the shit?" And then stuff would just come out at you. So it was good. Like you'd be sitting like jamming start to get the game going, and then and then nothing happens, right? Yeah, it's cool when they do stuff like that, or like you said, reading the memory card.
Yeah, break the fourth wall and kind of mess with you. I love it when they do stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
I still remember watching Electric Playground when Tommy Tallarico and Victor Lucas were talking about the sense, the smellogram type stuff, where there was talks about like having an attachment to consoles, so you could smell the game at the same time too. And I was like,
smell-o-vision.
oh yeah, smell-o-vision. And I was like, yeah, I'm like that. It would be cool, but then not really.
Oh man, the place would just stink. How many people would be playing like nonstop, and somebody else trying it? And
well, that's it. It's kind of like the 4D movies. I don't know. Have you ever watched a 4D movie, Steve? We don't have anything. It's pretty.
Oh, I take that back. I was Niagara Falls. I went to like a 4D movie theater.
Yeah.
And that was kind of neat. Like, because it would rain and wind would come through, and then bubbles came down. I don't remember why, but it was kind of neat. And the seats all move and shift and tilt.
Yeah, you get stabbed in the back by something, or air, like when the bolts are shot, you get shots of air going at you. So,
did I ever tell you about the pain station?
No, I don't think so.
This was I read it in a magazine years ago, but I think it was like Russia or somewhere, and these university students made the pain station, and they brought it to a bar. It was like the most popular thing there. But what it was is whoever could keep their hand on the thing longest won. And it had an element that would get hotter. It had a whippersnipper motor that would come out and whip your hand, and then it had a grater or something that would scrape your hand. And you just had to keep your hand there. And the person that, now I don't remember how the game played. I think you had to play a game.
Right.
But I just don't remember. But I remember reading it and thinking like, that's messed up. I want to play it.
Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. Man.
So you're talking about Tommy Tallarico.
Yeah.
Do you remember Electric Playground? Do you remember Arcade Top 10? I think it was Video Game and Arcade Top 10. Or how about even
XPlay?
The one with Sessler. Yeah, XPlay.
Yeah, XPlay. So I remember XPlay. I remember Electric Playground, or EP Daily, as they eventually called it. Which
I liked it in the beginning. It was fun.
Yeah, I did. I liked it as well. I mean, and
but they did those skits and things like that, and that was fun. And then it got away from that, and Tommy left.
Yeah, and then it was Victor, and then I told you the story about when I met Victor on the floor of Fan Expo, and then I stopped.
Why didn't you share that?
Yeah, sure. So if you're from Canada, you may have heard of Fan Expo. If you're not from Canada, Fan Expo is the third largest Comic-Con in North America. So you should have heard of it. And I watched Victor Lucas and EP Daily, Tommy Tallarico religiously when I was a kid / younger, and then saw Victor Lucas. He was there doing a presentation, but anyways, he was just walking on the show floor with, I don't know, with his manager or security. I don't know what the guy was. So I walked up to him to go like talk to him and ask him some questions, and then he's just like, "Oh, I don't have time for this," blah, blah, blah. Like just a complete dick
Get
about
down
it.
and ignore you.
I kept walking. I was like, "Well, there you go. I'm done. I guess it's true when they say don't meet your celebrity, your favorite celebrities, or don't meet your favorites."
Yeah,
that's
you
exactly
have them
what
up
happened.
here, and then it just all of a sudden the wall fell,
Yeah.
or the floor fell
Yeah.
through.
Yeah. That's it. So I'm hoping,
Because
I'm hoping if I ever meet like the likes of like Greg Miller or Ryan McAfee over at IGN, if I ever meet those guys somewhere, they're not like that. I'm really hoping.
I was surprised that you said that, because I love the show. I always thought Victor was a great guy, but I only see him through a TV.
Yeah,
or
well,
a
that's
monitor,
yeah.
right? So, but related, I have a buddy who had the same experience with David Duchovny. Like, 'cause I used to live in Vancouver, and he was filming X-Files back then, and I guess he ran into him in wherever it was that he was filming, and it basically just tried to say hi, and he just turned around and said, "Do you know who I am?" and kind of belittled him. And it just like it went from like having all this like, "Oh, I'm a huge fan," to like, this guy's a dick.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Well, that's pretty much what happened, right? And then I did. Funny enough that you say that. So, my celebrity crush is Lights. I don't know, and I don't know if you know Lights. She's a musician. She's Canadian. She's in and around my age. She might be a couple years older than me. Anyways, my friend Jordan, as you know, Jordan, his brother Matt did a show at Zaphod's, and he was opening up for Lights before Lights got bigger, because she's semi big in the Canadian pop culture, music, whatever you want to call it. So anyways, so if you recall, in 2018 I flew to Vancouver for some training for work, and guess who's on my flight? Lights. Yeah. So I saw her at Zaphod's here in Ottawa back in the day, and talked to her then, and this was like fucking 2007 2008. Then I see her on the airplane, and I was like, oh my God, do I go talk to her? No, I better not talk to her. So I'm sitting there like, get out of the airport, waiting for my cab, and she's waiting for her husband or whoever's picking her up. But she's like way down. So I'm sitting at the cab line, and I'm just like, hey, Lights. And she turns. I wave at her. I'm like, I'm a huge fan. She's like, oh my God. She's like, we actually started talking. So, which I thought was really sweet, right? Which was kind of cool. Or like Jason.
Going not the way I thought it was going to go.
No, it was really good. And she was really super sweet about it, and like nice, right? Or Jason Mewes. Like, you heard the story about Jason Mewes and Kathy and I when he was at Auto Comic Con, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We went, Kathy and I went to go see him, and Kathy was pregnant. He just had his daughter. Like, she was only a couple of months old. And then we probably stood and talked to Jason Mewes for like 15 minutes. Well, at least it felt like 15 minutes. It could have been 10. It could have been 5. It felt a good amount of time, way longer than he was talking to other people. I was sitting there touching Kathy's belly, talking about babies. It was just like stuff like that. And just cool, because that's how I expected him to be, right? I listened to him and Kevin Smith's podcast. So like, this is kind of how I expect him to be, right? And then that's exactly how he was.
So that's great. Like, it's such a huge difference when celebrities like that and you meet them. With you and Victor, I just always tell myself, maybe he was having a bad day, maybe it was off. But they're the fans, man. You never treat the fans like that.
Well, that's just like me going up to say hi, and he's like, no, I don't have time for this. Like, dude, hey man, thanks. I gotta go, but blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like, there's always
that would have been a better response. Yeah. So
exactly
I never had anything like that. I've only met one semi-celebrity, twice actually. And I call them semi-celebrities because they're kind of a cover band, if you will. And I know you know who they are, Cybertronic Spree.
Right.
So Ottawa Comic Con, they approached me simply because I was wearing a tank top when I was there. And you could see, they saw this tattoo, right? I'm trying to show it. And they're just like, whoa, you're the kind of guy we need at our show. Get over here, man. And they talked to me for a good few minutes and just told me about what they were doing. They were going to Barrymore's that night, and it just it was great. And then just randomly saw them again at TFCon.
Yeah,
I might be getting them backwards. I might have went the other way before. Like, I'm sure they have no idea who I am.
no,
But the same thing. They're
yeah.
just like, hey, dude, blah, 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 talking. Like,
Yeah,
and
well,
they're fun. They're super fun.
it's like Word Burglar, man. Canadian nerdcore rap artist, same kind of thing. Met him a few times. Like, he's not, I mean, like you said, he's a celebrity, not to an extent of, even a Jason Mewes, but he's still a celebrity. And it was we went and talked to him. I've been a big fan of him. He's done so many songs that I align with, right? He's got he's that kid's my friend's brother. That song where he's talking about how you have an older brother, your friend's older brother always buying you beer and cigarettes.
Yes,
or
you sent me
whatever.
that. Yeah, I sent that to my brother, by the way.
So that's it, right? And so it was sweet. Like, that's how that's how a celebrity should be. So hey, people watching or listening to us, if you ever see Steve or myself up out on the street, feel free to come talk to us. We're always happy to talk to people.
And we like it when you bring us beer.
Yes. So Steve, dude, we're coming up to time. Already, man.
I was just looking at my list to see what else we could talk about, but I guess it's already hitting that time.
We're hitting that time, right? We had some constructive criticism about how long our conversations have been going. Again, if it's a podcast, it's good to have us in your ear holes. But watching us on YouTube, the real meat is in the first 15 minutes, and then Steve and I get random. So anywho, guys, if you've listened to us this whole time and or watch us, thanks again. We really appreciate it. As per usual, you can follow us at Game.Bot Games on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and on YouTube if you're listening to us on podcasts. Steve,
keep collecting,
keep gaming,
stay safe.